Caution: this game contains scenes of violence and gore, as well as depictions of criminal acts. These acts are strictly punished by law. Please do not attempt to imitate them. This game also contains themes of sexual violence and self harm. This game is a work of fiction. Any relationship to real persons, groups, places, or crimes is coincidental. She secretly pretends like she wasn't also fucking turned on. You chose this future of your own violation, leaving the responsibility all upon you. That burden is too much for one man to bear when you say, the salvation of divine light were to be bestowed upon you, you would be provided moderate relief. Indeed, this is the future I chose. Under the divine light's guidance, or rather, your guidance, Kuramochi Yudai. Someone's here. You can hear them, can't you? I nodded in response. I could hear the voices of two men. Seemed like some cosmic Church of Divine Light randos. At the very least, it definitely wasn't a rescue party. It's him. And he's close. I could vividly hear the sound of Sena gritting her teeth. Save your embellishments, Kuromoshi Udai. I refuse to fall victim to your silver tongue anymore. That is most regrettable. However, despite your absence, Noatsu has already been completed. All that remains is to transmit our will throughout the world. Not our, but yours and Inohana Kozo's, right? Indeed. Now that the third melt experiment has proven its success, Project Noah has now completed its trial phase. A third man joined the conversation. What the hell were they talking about? And where was it coming from? The fact that we could hear the voices meant that they had to at least be somewhat close to us. Maybe there wasn't as much rubble on top of us as we might have thought. Ugh. Senna shifted slightly. Her hand gripped my uniform tightly. So tightly it was like she was enduring an intense pain. Her gaze pointed downward, but she didn't make eye contact with me. From this day for from this day forth, the ones who shall control the world will fall from 300 to 2. Today marks the dawn of a new world order. My field of vision was suddenly overwhelmed with light. The small pieces of rubble surrounding us began to crumble. Senna raised her head in shock. A hand reached down from above, peeking toward the gap in the rubble. Are you all right, Senna? You? That hand began to pull Sona through the debris. As it did, the crevice between the rubble widened, and a weight was lifted off of me. I could finally move again. I crawled out of the gap that had been made by Sena's body. It was the room in the Nozomi building, the very same room we had been trapped in. To think that you, just like Norose, would refuse our generous offer. Do you wish to live as livestock rather than on the ruling side? Almost all the monitors had been hanging from the ceiling had crashed to the floor, leaving all of their screens broken. Naturally, nothing was displayed on them anymore. Even the walls and various other chunks of the room were beginning to collapse. But all in all, the room wasn't anywhere near as bad as I expected it to be. I'd assumed we had been buried alive, but there wasn't anything even that remote. In hindsight, I probably could have escaped if I tried to. I felt like an idiot for being too scared to move. Ugh. Sena. Sena was facing a man I'd never seen before. He was wearing a ragged coat that complemented his clouded eyes. Overall, he looked like your typical homeless man. I had the feeling I had met him somewhere before, but I couldn't remember where. Maybe we passed each other in Shibuya at some point. Aside from the two of them, there was no one else there. The voices of the people who had trapped us, the member of the House of Representatives, and the Cosmic Church of the founder, must have come from a speaker somewhere in the room. Oh my, I see you have finally managed to reunite with your daughter, Hatano. How very touching. Daughter? That man was Sena's father? I definitely heard Sena say the name Hatano before. Please do enjoy your touching reunion to the fullest. When you are satisfied, please take your seat and enjoy the upheaval of the world as we know it. Once we fully activate Noatsu, it will be possible for it to exert its influence over not only the people of Shibuya, but all humans who reside in this world. The network has already been fully constructed. Suddenly, the voice from the speaker was cut short. And then a series of strange sounds came through them, which meant their power hadn't been cut off. Something was wrong. Just now, were those gunshots? After the gunshots came the raspy sounds of a man breathing raggedly. Impossible. This can't be. I was to be the ruler of... A final, deathly scream, then a dull click. The audio was cut short once more, and the speaker fell silent. An oppressive silence covered the room. What had just happened? Were they killed? Killed? By whom? I don't know. The two voices were being broadcast from somewhere else, and the audio was coming out of the speakers. So how close were they to the room we were in? At the very least, they had to be somewhere in the building. Taking that into consideration, the culprit who killed those two had to be close by. Let's get out of here. There could be a crazed murderer on the loose. Oh my god, nigga. And just who exactly is this crazed murderer? Why were those two killed? No, hold on. How do you know they were killed? Do you have proof? Calm yourself, Sena. I'm not talking to you. You heard that scream, right? They had to have been killed. Who'd killed them? Shogun? But wait, wasn't Shogun supposed to be a member of Nozomi? No. That was just an assumption on my part. There was no evidence proving he had anything to do with them. Running away might prove slightly difficult. This building is on the verge of collapse. There are cracks appearing everywhere, and the walls are starting to warp inward. Immediately after I entered the room, the entrance was sealed off by rubble. It was just as Hatano had said, but I had this nagging feeling, one that told me, considering the way the walls and everything around us had collapsed, there was way more debris than there should have been. I had a bad feeling about this. Well, it wasn't like I'd ever been to an abandoned building before, so I couldn't exactly judge the relationship between the way a room collapsed and the amount of rubble produced. The only thing I knew for sure was that we'd managed to escape being buried alive, but the fact that we were still locked in hadn't changed. We could destroy it with my D-sword.
Finally occurred to me that the bizarre resonant sound from earlier had finally stopped. Maybe the earthquake had destroyed the device that had been the source. I think it was called a porter. If that was true, then Sena might be able to get us out of here. I breathed a sigh of relief, then waited to hear Sena's brilliant plan of escape. However, she didn't take out her G-sword. She simply continued to glare at Hatano-san.
What were you talking with those two?
The past. I'm afraid we were unable to come to a mutual understanding. You couldn't come to a mutual understanding? Is that really true? Are you not still in contact with them? Where the hell have you been? And what the hell have you been doing for the past 6 months? What the hell made you decide to appear now of all times? Have you been watching us from somewhere inside the building? For the past 6 months, I've been roaming around Shibuya, longing to die. I had no intention of returning to the Cosmic Church of Divine Light, nor Nozomi technology. Sena gave a light click of the tongue and turned toward me. What leads you to believe those two were killed? It's, you know, those men have many enemies. Hatano stepped in. Anyone could have killed them in truth. Like I said before, I'm not talking to you. But there was a scream and we heard a bunch of gunshots. They could have been fireworks, Nishijo. Are you sure that's what happened? What if it was just an act? What if it was just fireworks? What was she talking about? In spite of Japan's very extensive earthquake precautions, the head office of one of the biggest megacorporations in the company has taken this much damage. Needless to say, there must have been an incredibly large earthquake. So, why were those two yammering on and on about classified information to us through a speaker? And why now? Sena painstakingly enunciated her each and every word, as if to make sure I knew exactly what I was claiming. Classified information? What, like Noah 2 and the Third Melt? Not that I knew anything about them either way. It all felt pretty performative. Maybe they need us to hear that they were saying. Why else would they leak classified information to us? Were those two actually there when they spoke to us? Or could they have died before the earthquake even occurred? Nishijo, ever since we infiltrated the building, we have yet to run into those two even a single time, correct? But they were talking on the monitor. On the monitor, yes. In reality, we never actually met them. They could easily be fake. It's just like when Nishijo says in one of the earlier chapters, I'm not even sure the person I'm talking to on the phone is the real one person of them, and not a fucking voice mod. I can't talk right now. It's fucking 4 a.m. Is it 4 a.m.? It's 4 a.m. And of course, everything with the speakers goes without saying. Something is wrong here. Very, very wrong. And Hatano, staring at me with wide eyes, interrupted Sena. I see. You are. Don't move! Sena, in response to being ignored, called out to Hatano-san in a sharp voice. I'll ask again. Why are you here? I can't get it right. I can't get it right. I came to save you two. No, it might be more accurate to say, I came here to be killed. Oh, don't worry, I'll kill you very soon. But before that, answer my questions. How did you know that we were here? I felt the call of a strong mind. How could you, a man who isn't even a gigalomaniac, be able to feel that? And even then, only a fraction of gigalomaniacs can detect vague, undefined delusions such as that. Someone like Kozuki, for example. Come to think of it, I wonder how she's doing. Which did you really feel something? Or did you know that we'd been lured here the whole time? Well, calm yourself, Sena. Hatred is overtaking your heart. Calm myself? As if I could calm down when the person I've been hunting for so long is standing right before my very eyes. You mustn't overthink things. Reality is not as complex as a conspiracy theory. It is far simpler. You showing up here, and now. It's way too convenient. You planned this from the very beginning, didn't you? Us being lured here into this room and confined. The earthquake. You showing here. The performative speech is ripped straight out of some conspiracy theory. An inexplicable interruption. We don't even have proof that this room is in the Nozomi building at all. What if we were carried around the building while unconscious and brought somewhere else? You could have replicated the interior of the room in Nozomi. The earthquake didn't actually occur, and the rubble scattered everywhere was artificially arranged. She is crazy. The more words Sena threw out, the more unsure I became on what to believe. It felt like the very foundation of knowledge I had always relied on was collapsing, like it was being pulled apart piece by piece. In her desperate attempts to protect herself, she's become truly insane. Jumping at shadows like this will be your downfall. Hold yourself together, Sena. Don't you dare call me that. I don't plan on having a nice conversation with you, so answer the goddamn question. The earthquake did occur. That truth is absolute. All buildings in Shibuya are on the verge of collapse, and the casualties must be in thousands. Do you have a way to prove that? Go on. Try destroying that wall. With your D sword, of course. Sena threw out her right hand as if she was shaking something off. Her D sword materialized in an instant. Sena swung it down toward the wall without hesitation. The D sword smoothly cleaved through the wall like a hot knife through butter. The wall broke down. Immediately after, a fierce, chilly wind blew through the room. The scenery from behind the destroyed wall was laid bare before us. What we saw there was CG. That was just this one. Shibuya, transformed into literal ruins of death. Just a few hours ago, it had been crowded with people. Flashy videos were playing at an insane volume from various jumbotrons, and it was overflowing with glittering decorations, things all befitting the city of the youth. But now, almost all of the iconic buildings had collapsed, and those that had survived were either leaning at a sharp incline or had violent cracks gradually eroding away at them. Not a single car remained on the road. The asphalt had caved in at multiple points, and had risen up at many others. Pitch black smoke billowed from numerous locations and disappeared into the blackened sky. That was the Shibuya we saw from atop the skyscraper. Sena had only been jumping at shadows, and I was no better. There was no mistaking it. We were still on the 31st floor of the Nozomi building, and an earthquake had occurred. There was no telling when the building we were in would collapse. If the building were to fall, I'd have no chance of surviving. It would end with me being crushed under endless tons of rubble. I could be buried for all eternity, with my body never being found. I needed to get out as fast as humanly possible. Trembling violently, I surveyed the room. Huh? My eyes instinctively honed in on an object. A monitor that had fallen on the floor. It doesn't make sense that a mere earthquake caused this much damage. Was it Noah 2? Yes. It was the third melt, the final trial of Noatsu. Third Alberto. Half of the LCD screen was broken, so nothing was displayed on it. However, the remaining half was tenaciously staying lit as fuck. I didn't think it'd been on when I'd looked earlier, but I wasn't completely sure. The third melt. Does that have anything to do with you? I already told you. I've been running away from Nozomi for no less than 6 months now. Not just Nozomi. You ran away from me, Mom, and my little sister. Yes, I admit it. Only half listening to Sena and Hantano's strained arguing, I crouched down in front of the monitor. There were letters on it. Text was being displayed. What the? A chat room? They'd said my name. Why had they said my name? What did they mean, are you seeing this? The whole thing creeped me out. Who'd written it? Their handle seemed to be corrupted. How did they know my name? How did they know I was in this building, let alone this very room? Maybe it was Rin. I never asked him before, but what if he was actually some crazy superhound fuck? Or maybe it was Shogun, like usual. Was reading my mind again, prepping to give me my next quest. The sight of Nanami covered in blood resurfaced in my mind. Right, Nanami was being imprisoned somewhere. If this was in any way related to Nanami, she could be killed if I didn't respond to this message. I crouched down to the keyboard that had fallen down near the monitor and let out a single groan. I had no idea whether or not the keyboard was actually connected to the monitor. All I could do was pray it would work, and so I pressed the end key. My input was reflected on the monitor. It seemed like I could use the keyboard to type in chat after all, under the temporary handle guest. I replied with in, i.e. no, since their message hadn't clarified what I was supposed to be seeing. What was I supposed to be seeing? Since I didn't know that yet, I couldn't answer why, i.e. yes, until I knew more. Nanami's life could be at stake, so I had to be more careful than usual. Another message arrived. What? Wait, so it wasn't Shogun? It was the Committee of 300? I'd heard that name over and over today. Those old guys that had supposedly been killed earlier, Kuramochi and Inohana, had both said that they were a part of the Committee of 300. What are you doing, Nishijo? Sena peeked over my shoulder at the monitor. What is that? I I don't know. It called me by name. Alarmed, both my gaze and Senna snapped to the ceiling. Were they watching us with security cameras? There were several things in the room that looked like cameras, but all of them had been destroyed by the earthquake, and therefore weren't working. The other monitors were completely silent, too. Who the hell are you? Bullshit. Can you prove you're the Committee of 300? Nishijo, type that in. Huh? Uh, okay. Before I could even start typing, another message appeared. What the hell? Is this an attack from Noatsu? Or could it be a delusionary attack from a gigalomaniac? Nishijo, is it possible that this person's Shogun? There's no way I could figure that out with how little we'd been given. I took my head from side to side. To her, it probably looked like I was about to cry. Sena responded with an irritated click of her tongue. Could they be a crazed murderer from earlier, when I killed Kuramochi and Inohana? Doubt it. The most likely case is that they're actually Kuramochi or Inohana themselves. They did say they were part of the committee after all. Sena proceeded to the tip of her D-sword at Hatano-san. One-handed, the gigantic, viciously sharp sword. With incredible ease. Fuck. Or, maybe you're the one behind everything. I have no motive that would lead me to orchestrate this. Squatting down to look at the monitor was tiring on my legs, and reading the text in the dark was equally taxing. To combat this, I shoved some debris off a table and placed the monitor on top of it. It could be a few members of the Committee of 300 aside from Inohana and Kuramochi. There are 300 of them after all. If they are who they say they are, that is. Only in TV and movies do you see the masterminds reveal themselves like this. Whether or not they actually are the committee should not be what we are focusing on. The more pressing matter is whether or not the self-proclaimed member of the Committee of 300 is the one who killed Kuramochi and Inohana. They're actually the culprit? So those two really were killed. So there is internal conflict among the committee members, you say. They may be contacting us from the same room Kuramochi and Inohana were monitoring us from. But if that's true, why don't they just use the speakers? I assume they don't want us to hear their voice. They don't want us to learn their true identity. Does that mean it's someone we know? The man writing this is extremely cautious, although we cannot assume their sex. Alright. Well, what if they're Inohana or Kuramochi and everything that happened earlier was just an act? I don't think that's the important part. Are you suggesting those two had a falling out? It's possible, but it's also possible they're both alive and are both deceiving us. If that is the case, do you have a hypothesis that answers why they would do such a thing? If what you say is true, then exactly what are you? Are you implying that you're God? It may be in our best interest to not argue with these people. Their intentions remain unclear as of now. We are only able to see their words. So it would be a simple task for them to weave in as much fake information as possible. I had always been under the impression that the committee, that Kuramochi and Inohana weren't a part of the committee, and that's why they were scared of them. I mean, even if they had been a part of the committee, they should still be terrified. But I'd always been under the impression that they weren't a part of the committee, and that all 300 of them, rather than 298, would be after them if they fucked around. The advice was solid, but the text on the monitor kept appearing rapidly. I couldn't get a read on the guys behind handle. They knew a terrifying amount of information about us. So that means, right as I finished reading everything they had written up until that point, an idea suddenly popped into my head. It's something I thought about many times before. You're the game masters. Well, fucking God. Game masters? What's that supposed to mean? In ESO, they're the people working for the developers, or in layman's terms, they're the people behind us who control everything we do. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Rubbing her temples, a sour look crossed her face. Kids these days. Nishijo ta- Okay. Wait, are you serious? Holy shit! It's happening. It's finally happening. The theory I had had delusions upon delusions about had been true all along. There was a person outside of my reality controlling me, just like how I controlled Neidhart. Someone was controlling me in the same way. If you're real, then tell the person controlling me, remake my character right now, goddammit. Don't be shit at controlling me this time. I actually like that everything that he says, like when he's just sitting at home chilling, gets brought back some way. I shouted at the monitor. I felt Sena's puzzled gaze laying on my back. Holy shit. Okay, so a cheat is like an exploit. In ESO, if you input the right code, you can boost a level 1 character all the way to level 50 in an instant, and you can give yourself a super rare item with a .025 drop rate with no actual effort. Maybe if I had a cheat code, I could stop being such a weak otaku freak. I might even become a real hero. I'll be able to talk to 3D girls without being creepy. This was the exact epic plot moment I'd been hoping for. I was becoming the strongest. Holy shit, this is actually happening. The Committee of 300 are actually fucking gods. But, like, actually, this is so fucking awesome. So awesome. Do you really think that cheat codes actually exist? Apparently, this person we're talking to is acting from a higher order layer of being. But why would they? But why would a godlike being use the same language and terminology that we do? This has to be a trap. Cut the sophistry. Sophistry. I I believe you. Wanted to believe him. I didn't want to continue living in fear any longer. If I was able to get a power even stronger than Shogun's, I'd be able to live in peace. If you are truly God, as you say, why is this not within your own power? Autistic mode. All of this reeks of bullshit. If you really can't directly intervene, then how exactly will you dispose of Kuromochi and Inohana? This isn't cooperation. You intend to use us. That's true. Very clever. From this conversation, you could reasonably infer that the Committee of 300 does exist, or that it does not exist. It is also possible that this is an attack from Noah too. But isn't it true that Kuromochi and Inohana were going to betray the Committee of 300? They said it themselves. What if the delusionary attack had already started? What if the delusionary attack had already started by then? I stand by what I said before. We don't have a single shred of evidence that the Inohana and Kuromochi talking through the monitor and speaker were actually real. Sena, you've been suspicious of everything since we got here. In a situation like this, the only thing you can trust is yourself. The entire world is an electronic device, and by simply manipulating electrical signals, you can easily fabricate what we perceive. That view of ruined Shibuya we can see from here, the rubble filling this room. The messages from the people claiming to be the Committee of 300. The person I'm talking to right now. You, Nishijo, and Sena shot a glance at Hatsuno-san. Even he could be fake. Sena. Sena gritted her teeth. Her expression grew angrier and angrier. This is a delusion. This is an attack on my mind. I won't be deceived. She folds. Immediately. Immediately. Niggas be fake demons. All that good shit, all that good talk about I won't be deceived. You can't fucking trick me. We'll bring back your mom and your sister. Okay, I'm done. Sena, do not be seduced by their words. You were the one who said these messages could be a mental attack. But niggas be fake demons. With a cheat code. With a cheat code, it might be possible. I mean, they're gods, so. Can you really do that? Don't allow your judgment to be further clouded. They're only telling you what you want to hear. Reviving the dead is not possible in reality. Shut up! Shut the hell up! They're exploiting the weakness in your heart. Our opposition is extremely clever. They are not God nor anything of the sort. I have fully concluded this. They are nothing more than a mere swindler. God's existence must be self-contained. It should have no knowledge of the concepts of life and death, and it should not have the capability to understand them. I'm not saying she's a poorly written character. I love Sena. 17-year-old girls would absolutely go through something like this. This kind of confliction is not poorly written just because it's inconvenient to the plot. That being said, however, this is so fucking funny. Niggas be fake demons. Sena's D-sword once again found itself pointed at Hatsuno-san. Niggas be fake demons. You have no right to say anything at all. If he hadn't killed Mom. I fully intend to atone for that. It makes no difference if you kill me. In truth, I'd rather you did. So please, do not be seduced by the falsehood of being able to bring her back. You running away is the real thing I can't forgive. Oh, for fuck's sake. Now wasn't the time for some father-daughter screaming match. Maybe I should leave these two behind. Then I could go take the cheat code for myself. I've made up my mind. I won't kill you. I'll destroy... You'll regret what you did for the rest of your fucking life. You truly are a pure soul, Sena. Driven by your emotions, you continue to wish for this world of electronic devices. You are contradicting yourself. Forgive me. It's my fault you ended up like this. Sena looked toward the ceiling and shouted out. Hatsuno-san said nothing more. All she did was stand there with a sad look on his face. His shoulders sagged. How do we open it? Wow. So this is how God operates. Very prepared. Excuse me, what form does the cheat code take? The monitor immediately went black. With only a dull click, the committee was gone, even though we hadn't touched a thing. Okay, so the cheat code is going to be the baby's corpse, Nanami, uh, or like some other third thing that would be important to Sena, Hatano, or Takumi. It's not going to be just some random object. I feel like that's pretty obvious. I was overflowing with excitement. I met God, the person controlling me. Okay, well, I mean, they're not controlling you because, you had choice in this. Also, the 3D model for the D sword looks nice, but it also looks so fucking weird when this is in a higher resolution. The world turned out to be whatever. I'd become nobody, and I mean nobody, would be able to scare me anymore. Shogun, you and Nozomi technology would no longer be my enemies. I'd won. I'd won at life. I wanted to head for Shibuya Station immediately. I wanted to get my hands on that cheat code as soon as possible. But despite that, Sena continued to waste time. She kept her sword pointed directly at Hatsuno-san. Her head hung low. Sena, aren't you coming? Mm. Sena, hearing my call, let out a small sigh and lowered her sword. Without so much as a glare at Hatsuno-san, she walked right past me, then casually swung her D-sword. And with that, the rubble blocking our path was cleanly dispersed. Let's go. She spoke in a subdued voice, one that was far removed from the rage she had been showing only a moment prior. Hatano Issei watched his daughter and Nishino Takumi leave until they fell out of sight, and once they did, he took a seat in the middle of the rubble. I wish to talk with God for just a moment longer. As he became the last remaining person in the room, he said those words into the air. His daughter Sena had looked like she had something to tell him, but instead she had simply thrown a sharp gaze his way, only to click her tongue, turn her head away, and leave without saying a word. Nothing had escaped Hatano's lips either. Committee of 300, are you still watching me? He faced the silent, pitch-black monitor and called out to it. There was no response for a while, leaving Hatano to continue staring emptily at the monitor. Eventually, the screen roared back to life, displaying the chat log from before. Responded with Y, meaning yes. Why, Sena and Nishijo Takumi? As the Committee of 300, how precisely would you define this world? A game? An experiment? A farm for livestock? The Worldwide Human Domestication Project, a term that would find into its way in any discussion about the famous Committee of 300 conspiracy. Those who know of the conspiracy speculate that Committee of 300 means to establish a new world order to unify the world, and once they do, they shall guide the world through the creation of a new world government. Aside from a selection of chosen people, all of humanity will be subjected to semi-permanent brainwashing applied via a silent weapon, turning them to mindless slaves. Just like livestock, their flesh, milk, labor, children, and very lives shall endlessly be stolen away by the elite. Should this be realized, it would perhaps be humanity's cruelest, most systematic utopia of all. Unknowingly having their wills stolen from them and being automated as livestock, the remains of humanity would be constantly exploited, all the while continuing to live their lives in blissful ignorance. As they would have no way to know of their exploitation, they would never raise any objections nor rebel against their circumstances. Even if the worldwide human domestication project is a mere delusion, silent weapons are very much real. No Watsu exists as irrefutable evidence of this fact. So the world will once again be placed under your order, one where you will continue to exploit the general populace as mindless slaves. As Hatano spoke, a horrifying possibility stemming from his own words came to him, and his brow furrowed. Has the worldwide domestication project already been completed? Answer my original question. As the Committee of 300, how precisely would you define this world? A game, an experiment, or a farm for livestock? In response to Hatano, fell silent. The time. The time for what? What do you mean by... No, Sena and Takumi. The monitor abruptly went black. It was no different from a death sentence. Sena, clamping his teeth down on his lip, Hatano frantically stood up. If he left now, perhaps he would still be able to catch the two of them before they reached Shibuya Station. He had to tell them that it was a trap. He did not want to let his daughter die. After killing his wife and his second daughter, she was the only family he had left. No matter how much hatred she felt for him, all he wanted was for her to be safe. For this reason, Hatsuno ran. And yet, in the end, he was not able to escape the Nozomi Technology Building. For before he could, the sound of an explosion combined with a furious vibration ripped through the building. It's not collapsing due to the earthquake, however. The sound told him it was by the hand of a man, like 9/11. Knowing this did not change his fate. The ground beneath his feet collapsed, and as if the lid had been lifted off the cauldron of hell itself, the earth opened wide and swallowed up the insignificant existence that was Hatsuno Ise. Going on a walk through Shibuya finally helped things sink in. I came to terms with just how horrifying the earthquake that hit the city truly was. Not a single trace of the once dazzling city remained. The city was dead. Shibuya was now a city of death. Countless unmoving bodies littered the streets, some lying alone, others piled on top of one another. Various sections of the main road were deeply stained with pools of blood. Nothing was alive. Everyone was dead. Everyone. Hatano-san had said something earlier about the casualties being thousands, and the sole cause of all this suffering was Noatsu. This wasn't a natural disaster. It wasn't even any kind of disaster at all. This was an atrocity. A massacre. Sena, who was just a few steps ahead of me, had an intense look of sorrow on her face. Hatano-san hadn't come with us. We had left him behind at the Nozomi Technology Building. They were father and daughter, apparently, but they didn't really act like it. Felt like Sena had some sort of one-sided hatred toward her father. They had mentioned Sena's mother and younger sister during that conversation. What had happened between the two of them? Whatever it was, it must have been what led to Sena's heart and mind being broken. Despite me wondering that, I didn't plan on asking for some detailed account of what happened or anything. Not that I knew how to fit in the first place. Besides, our number one priority at the moment was obtaining the cheat code. Once we had that, I wouldn't need Sena to protect me anymore. I'd be able to live on my own. Suddenly, a rumbling came from beneath me. Thinking it was another earthquake, I immediately got down on my hands and knees. But the ground wasn't what was shaking. I slowly and cautiously looked behind me, toward where the Nozomi main office we were just in should have been standing. Smoke was pouring into the sky. It looked like the end result of an erupting volcano, and the building that should have been there wasn't. Oh God, had it collapsed? But Hatano-san was still there. A small whimper escaped Senna's lips. She looked up at the smoke-filled sky in a daze. After a moment, she noticed my gaze and quickly turned the other way. However, her shoulders continued to tremble. Well, you don't really believe that, do you, Takumi? Once we got our hands on the cheat code, we could do that. There's no reason we couldn't, as long as we believe what had said. Senna laughed to herself, but her voice was muffled by her tears. I didn't really know what to say to her, so I just hung my head. Sena fought back her tears for a while, but eventually, as if she'd made up her mind about winning, she started moving forward once again. And now, not a single tear remained on her face. I hurriedly followed after her. Underground Shibuya Station was home to the Hanzomon line and the newly constructed Fukutoshin line, which had a far more complicated structure to it. There was also the Ginza line platform, located 2 floors above the ground, but it was still treated as a subway surface. Pretty much anyone, and they'd tell you, ask pretty much anyone, and they'd tell you this place was basically a dungeon. And not only that, but the earthquake had caused all the stairways leading underground to collapse. Now they were all buried in rubble. Sin had been able to use her D sword to blast away the rubble and a clear path for us, so it hadn't been much of a problem. But due to the lack of proper lighting, finding the right coin locker had been taking a lot more time than expected. If that weren't enough, the air filtration system had stopped, leaving the air disgusting and filled with dust. My coughing refused to stop, to the point where it felt like I was gonna die. The stench of death wafting off the scattered corpses didn't help either. Is this it? Sena had finally located the coin locker, which was somehow standing tall with no signs of any noticeable damage. To our astonishment and subsequent relief, the locker had power running to it, something that was made very clear by the bright glow of an IC card reading. Please make a selection was displayed on the screen. Retrieve and deposit were the only 2 buttons available. Could there really be a cheat code in such an ordinary locker? The locker had been there since before the earthquake. A whole bunch of customers would have passed through here before us. On a normal day, no one would have paid any mind. Just how many people actually use lockers like these in the first place? I couldn't imagine there'd be that many. Upon closer inspection, it occurred to me that almost all the other lockers were buried in rubble. And behind that single closed door was something beyond imagination. Urban legends like that had been floating around for decades. It wasn't especially strange or anything like that. It's very grounded in reality, actually. A small container that you could find very easily throughout your ordinary life, housing something extraordinary. That was the idea behind it. When I pushed the retrieve button, a message popped up saying, "Please scan your card." What we find in there, will it give us hope or despair? Sena took out her IC card from her pocket and slowly approached the screen. Wait, what if it's a popsicle stick and it says you win on it? An electronic beep, the sound of the lock releasing came from the locker. The sound echoed ominously throughout the dead silent underground. Senna and I stood anchored to Senna and I stood anchored to the spot, and then we both checked our surroundings. We'd at last come face to face with the cheat code. What form it'd take, neither of us knew. Please don't let it be something gross or anything gory. Personally, if I had the choice, I'd want it to be a Sedaton figure. Yeah, that'd be the best possible outcome. Senna wiped off the sweat beading on her brow. The locker we were looking at was the second one from the left, the third from the top. The door was fairly big, and it had 1009 written on it. The locker was ever so slightly ajar. All we could see inside that slight gap was uncertain, unending darkness. Sena and I stared at the locker, frozen in place. You open it. Even though she didn't say it out loud, I could feel Sena telling me that. Granted, I was doing the same thing, so we were both equally cowardly. Come on, you do it, I told her inside my head. I thought about letting a game of rock, paper, scissors make the decision for us, but it wasn't the time to mess around like that. Should open it was what I was going to say, but I was interrupted. Sena took a step back and readied her sword. What the hell do you mean, just in case? I still felt like she was going to stick the tip of me My throat went dry from the anxiety. But recently, my unearthed hope resurfaced once again. If I surpass this trial, I can become a hero. With this adage etched upon my heart, I summoned all my remaining courage. Placed my hand on the half-open locker door. Do, do I open it? Yeah. I slowly, gently opened the door. It opened easier than I expected. Inside I found a baby. Who would have fucking guessed? Who would have fucking guessed? A white bundle of cloth? It was bigger than I expected. But right when I reached out to touch it, well, it's surprisingly not a corpse. Pulled my hand back in a panic at the sudden voice. It's... No way, it's... A live baby had been in the locker? I mean, it'd been decades since then, but abandoned children being found in coin lockers had been a fairly large social issue at one point. But for it to be happening now? Wait, that didn't matter right now. Where was the cheat code? I double-checked the locker number. It was unmistakably 1009, so that must have meant... Sena gently picked it up as she continued to wail, holding it like a fragile object that would fall into pieces if she let go of it. The baby's cries grew louder and louder. Sena grimaced as her body stiffened and locked in place. She looked at me with pleading eyes. What am I supposed to do? Why ask me? I think... Burn in hell. Her glare pierced through me. Has she overheard my delusion just now? That baby. He's probably the cheat code. I mean, if we thought about what they said, destroy it. Maybe it was the cheat code. We couldn't activate it unless we destroyed it. Kill it. I went silent and Cynic glared daggers at me. She shielded the baby with her arms. We can't. There's no... But it's the cheat code! Ah, nigga, shut up. Whatever you tell yourself so you can sleep at night. I cowered at Senna's horrifically menacing look. Even so, I frantically shot back my rebuttal without looking her in the eye. If I lost to Senna here, I'd end up losing the cheat code, and I'd stay an otaku freak for the rest of my miserable life. Can we see the baby's face? Of course I can't. I'm completely harmless. That's why you gotta do it, Senna. But I couldn't actually say any of that. Senna gently embraced the baby. She had such a tender and loving expression on her face, I couldn't believe she was the same ill-tempered girl from before. She was a total mess. Had Senna been a complete fucking... oh, all along? Oh shit. I was like, can we see the baby's head? But I realized that that's hair sticking out from the thing. A thunderous roar. Unsure of what had just happened, I reflexively crouched down. Uh, 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 did, did, did Takumi fucking did, did this nigga shoot a baby? Sena croaked. When I looked over at her, I saw her hands covered in blood. It wasn't hers. It was coming from the baby she was cradling. The white towel she was wrapped up in was turning crimson. There. Sena's entire body trembled violently. Wowie! My awesome shooting skills never let me down. The man continued to walk toward us with the most casual smile on his face. On his back, the man wore a rucksack that clashed heavily with his suit. What are you two talking about down here? Oh, and while I'm thinking of it, what was up with that baby? Wait, don't tell me. Is that your secret love child? Did you two do it? Man, high schoolers these days. But, nah, none of that really matters. I came to take care of you two. If we let you two asswipes near Noatsu, you'd start causing an awful lot of trouble. Was he related to Nozomi? I feel like I'd seen him somewhere before. He was carrying a gun. Normal people didn't carry a gun. He was gonna kill us. We had to run. Well then, I guess I'll start by taking care of the hyper dangerous spree killer hiding in a high school girl's body. The man raised his gun and pointed directly at Sena, but she didn't react at all. Still clutching the baby, she had broken down in sobs. What do I do? We've got the cheat code now. What the hell do I do? I should be invincible now. There's no way I can protect Sena. If I'm invincible, then I can be reckless and stupid and be perfectly fine. I had shielded Sena. A fierce pain exploded in my chest, followed by a burning heat like I had been caught on fire. My uniform was stained in blood. I'd been shot. They shot me! Woo! That was awesome, Nishijo Takumi-kun. Putting your life on the line to protect a chick. You really are a shining example for all us guys out here. But how much longer can you keep it up? Each time a gunshot ripped through the air, another bullet opened another hole in my body. My blood splattered everywhere. The pain eroded my nerves. Sena was still frozen in place, looking at me with tears in her eyes as she cradled the baby. Over half the white towel was now covered in a deep shade of red. I could no longer tell if that blood was mine or the baby's. This wasn't good. I was gonna lose consciousness. It hurts, 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 it hurts. I never asked to go through pain like this. With the cheat code, I should be invincible. But if Sena doesn't activate it, I'm gonna fucking die. I could feel him getting closer to me. I could sense a sinister bloodlust overflowing from him. Something cold and solid was being pushed into my back. Felt like my wounds were being grilled over hot coals, and that sensation clawed through them. Well, aren't you a trooper? But it ends here with one point blank bung to the heart. Pretty sure not even a gigalomaniac could survive that one. Senna, hurry. Senna only continued to cry. This was it. After the grinding to get that cheat code, none of it mattered in the end. Bitch! The sensation in my back suddenly disappeared. I thought I'd been shot, but it wasn't a gunshot that I'd heard. It was the sound of air itself shaking. My arm! Niggas be fake demons! White feathers shimmered and danced through the air. But we weren't underground. There shouldn't have been any birds here. Despite my consciousness turning foggy, the pain ripping throughout my entire body, slowly managed to turn around. And there I saw. Clasped in her hands was a sword so elegant, so beautiful, yet its form was unendingly sinister. I'd never seen anything like this. It was Remy. Remy, who had disappeared on me before, was here. She looked at me with a smile filled with sorrow. A large quantity of blood poured from the man's arm. Everything from the elbow down had been severed. The hand holding the gun rolled on the ground. Had Remy done that? You bitch! My hand! How fucking dare you! With all the horrible things you did to Nana-chan, this is nothing. Remy. Remy avoided my dumbfounded gaze. She simply stood in front of the man, shielding us. Get out of here now. I've got the gist of what's going on. Ai-san, Takus, destroy Noatsu. That sharp voice brought me back to my senses. When I tried to move my body even a little bit, I was tortured by unrelenting pain. I wanted to collapse on the spot. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to think. But most of all, I didn't want to die. My consciousness was fading. I was fully aware of the blood flowing out of the wounds covering my entire body. Despair and the fear of death threatened to overwhelm me, but I fought them back and held on to Sena's shoulders. Let's go. While we still can. Sena's eyes were clouded with tears. It was the first time I'd ever seen her crying face. I guess even level-headed women like Sena cried sometimes. I noticed something else as I held her shoulders. Her body was incredibly frail. I'm sure that wasn't unique to Sena. It probably applied to all IRL girls, really. Her body was slender as well, something guys also didn't share. On a normal day, she exuded an aura of confidence, arrogance, and so much overwhelming vigor. It felt like she could crush me with it. But at the end of the day, she really was still a girl. It'll be alright. Don't cry, Sena. If you use the cheat code, it'll... Oh, fucking bitch. Leaving that, I grit my teeth and walked forward. Behind me, I heard the sound of a strange mechanical sound, and a shrieking resonance entangling one another, but I refused to look back anymore. We made it above ground. A trail of blood marked the path we walked. I'd lost a lot of blood. The intense heat I'd been feeling in my wounds had been replaced with an unbearable chill. No matter how much I tried to keep it under control, my body kept violently shivering. My teeth wouldn't stop chattering. Looking up, I saw the planetarium standing before us. But the moment I did, I realized something was off. The surrounding buildings had almost entirely collapsed, and the ones that were still standing were covered in cracks and fissures. And yet, the planetarium was completely intact. Not only that, but I thought the building was supposed to have been demolished years ago. But it still stood tall in front of me. Why? Why hadn't I realized this until now? Why hadn't I questioned it earlier? Was this because of some gigalomaniac's powers? Or was it Noatsu's doing? At any rate, the reason I noticed must have been because of the cheat code. Now we were just need to activate it, and then we would be able to destroy the planetarium. Without me supporting her any longer, Sena fell to her knees. She was still heartbroken. Even talking was agonizing now. Sena looked back and forth between me and the baby, making her look like she was shaking her head. No! But all she did besides that was tremble. I was running out of time. My vision was going blurry. If we didn't activate the cheat code, I was gonna die. Damn it. I really couldn't rely on Sena anymore. I had to do it on my own somehow. I reached out my hand to the blood-stained baby Sena was cradling. But Sena refused to let go. Taking charge, I wrestled Sena's hands away as she looked at me in horror and forcefully grabbed the baby. She broke down crying. Ignoring her wails, I clutched the baby. Suddenly I noticed it. A strange color, shrouded in faint light. The shining sword was laying at my feet. A D-sword. Forgetting all about the pain, I took a hold of it. This one is different, I feel. Is it not? Despite being so long and gigantic, it was shockingly light. It was almost like I was holding nothing but thin air. I knew for sure this was a real D-sword, no fake. Hot damn, cheat code. I think I finally got my hands on a D-sword this easily after struggling to get one for so long. Summoning all my remaining energy, I stood up. My wounds hadn't healed, but I was invincible now. Wounds this bad just took a minute to heal, that's all. Sena was utterly useless now. I had destroyed Noatsu myself. I felt power overflowing from deep within, from the very core of my body. Felt like there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I had obtained a power rivaling that of God himself. I brandished my sword. My target was the planetarium, illuminated ominously by the surrounding light. I'll destroy you. A gunshot echoed from the air. Blood spewed from my chest. Soon after, I was hit with an intense pain. For a moment, I stopped breathing. My vision went black. I had an awful feeling writhing in the depths of my throat, and the taste of blood spread through my mouth as I coughed violently. That guy from earlier. Had he shot me again? Why didn't Remy just fucking cut his head off? I looked around, only to be absolutely astonished by what I saw. There were tons of people, all crowded around me and Sena. They had all had dead eyes. They were all holding guns. They were all aimed at me. Every single one of them was whispering something. Divine Savior. Shinko no Sukuyaru. Shinko no Sukuyaru. Sena, get down. They all fired in unison. Countless lead bullets penetrated my body, boring out my flesh, slicing through my bones. I was assaulted by impact after impact. My body danced around by an order not my own, just like a marionette. The pain stabbed at my consciousness. It felt like I was going to pass out. Even still, I desperately kept standing. My D sword was raised high, held aloft in one of my hands. I'll destroy it. I prayed. I'll destroy Natsu. No matter how desecrated my body is, I won't die. I can't die. I swung down. The D sword drew a trail of red light. A brilliant flash burst into the night sky. The blade of light tore through the endless night and descended upon the planetarium dome below, only to be deflected by some unseen force. It was like there had been some sort of invisible wall. The light emitted by the D sword was refracted, and dispersed. Silence. Sena, me, and the people who had been shooting at me we all simply stared, dumbfounded. Even with the cheat, it didn't work. Was Noah too indestructible? I tried again. I couldn't let it in like this. I coughed up blood. Greasy sweat stung at my eyes. I could barely feel the pain anymore. My senses were already starting to disappear. My nerves might have been paralyzed. One more swing. I'm strong. I'm the strongest in the world. My strength stats should be so high. It should be absolutely OP. So I just need one more swing. I raised my sword overhead. Along with a woman's scream, they fired wildly once again. Sena covered my body with hers. I guess Sena had saved me this time. Sena tightly, ever so tightly, embraced my blood-soaked body. She grasped the hand I held my D-sword with. Sena's body was so warm. Hell, it was closer to hot. It had to be the heat of the blood, drawn out by the gunshot wound she'd suffered just now. The heat of the pulse of life that ran through her body. Sena's voice rang throughout my fading consciousness. So she had finally come back to her senses, huh? Completely exhausted and covered in tears, she shielded an otaku freak like me. And now, She was covered in blood. We were both dyed a deep crimson. But I really did feel her passion. Her voice really hit me. Together, we raised the D-sword high. I could still hear gunshots firing around us. But that wouldn't stop us anymore. My power was overflowing more than ever. I felt a strong life force gushing out of Sena. With this godly power, we would destroy the machine that rivaled God on high. This time for sure we would. I nodded. Together with Sena. We swung the D-sword down with all of our strength. And right as we did, a flash of light burst forth. A flash of light that tore the very world asunder. A red light that ripped the night sky in two. A red blade that perhaps might even reach the moon. It blew away everything, turning it all to dust, together with the invisible barrier surrounding Noah 2. The planetarium was reduced to ashes. A massive impact and shockwave burst through the city. It felt like my body was going to be torn apart. The people standing around us were blown away. Even so, Sena and I held each other upright. We both clutched the baby in our arms, shielding it. We'd use every last drop of power we had left. We didn't think about what came next. As long as we had the cheat code, our wounds would heal. So right now, all we needed to do was destroy Noah 2. With all our heart and soul, we let our power erupt. The sounds dissipated, and the light along with it. And in the center of that ruined city of death, Sena and I stood tall. Sena clung to my body. I leaned against hers. Between us, we embraced the bloody baby. I couldn't walk another step. I couldn't make the slightest movement. I didn't have an ounce of strength left. I felt the same way. And because we were alive, we had to live on for the sake of those who had died. Sena, softly and gently, embraced the bloody baby. Sena had cried a lot today, but compared to the usual girl who glared at everyone and everything, the girl whose weakness was on display right now was far more beautiful. Way to ruin the moment. Sena's tears flowing were so very beautiful. As those thoughts flowed through my mind, I looked up toward the night sky. All right, you a new ranking. You already know. New new character ranking. You already know. So it's Orihara, then Sena, then Mia, then Ayase, then Yua. Because did I say Yua at the bottom? I meant Nanami because I haven't done Rimi's route yet. This was really good. Around the time where they were stuck inside of the thing, I was like, man, it sucks because we haven't really gotten into who Sena is yet besides her little inserts. But I think that this was good. I think that this was good. I think it's hmm. I was saying earlier, I was thinking this earlier. In the order that the what is it, Committee of Zero? In the order that the Committee of Zero tells you to read these routes, It's Type Moon. Good Smile Company. Nanami, not Nanami. Fuck. Rimi becomes more and more involved over time. It starts with the Nanami route where she appears literally at the ending before she and Nanami eat shit and die. Then in the ISA and Yua routes, she doesn't appear at all. And then in the Orihara route, she gets killed by Orihara because she tries to kill Takumi. And then in this route, she chops off Tsua's arm, but not his head, or like she doesn't bisect. She could have bisected his ass. Also, I kind of like also Sun and Moon, and I really like that Sun and Moon and I knew that voice sounded familiar. Okay, never mind. I take back what I was saying. Deus Ex Machina has a very, very like concrete ending. I was about to say I like how Sun and Moon and Deus Ex, but I didn't know the ending name of the ending, so I was waiting for the pop up. I was like, I like how both of them are kind of open ended. And well, yes, I forgot her name, so I'm just gonna say the baddest bitch alive, and the baby, her being a part of 300, and Remy being off in Nowheresville, and the baby being alive is like open. There's no story for Takumi left, like at all. But this one and a contract of blood to seal our sin, those two being very open, I like that. It's very clear, and whatever the fucking incest one is called, that he's gonna die in that container, and so is the copy of Nanami. And in the ending of Sickness Unto Slaughter, they just like die straight up, and then I cried. So this one and a contract of not this one, Sun and Moon and a contract of blood to seal our sin being very open ended. I like those. I like that a lot. Not to say that a contract of blood to seal our sin is very high on my fucking list because I don't really care that much for ISA as a character. But hey, I did enjoy Deus Ex Machina. I was going to say that it had an open ending, but then they both got shot a million times, so of course they were gonna fucking die. I never believed that cheat code was real in the first place. But I mean, they could have had some of the bullshit done with the Black Serpent, but they didn't. So I don't care. I don't. It doesn't matter. But yeah, maybe this time it won't take me fucking, what is it, May? 2 months to finish the next route.